Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Board Game Captain.
And I'm Alex.
And today we're going to be reviewing and showing you how to play Hannibal and Hamilcar, Rome versus Carthage. So this giant war strategy game playing out the Punic Wars here is designed by Mark Simonich and Yaro Andruskowicz. Andruskowicz. I think that's correct. There are their names there. And it was published by Phalanx Games. This box is heavy. Yes. This is a 60-plus minute game for 2 players and for ages 14 and up. So let's start there. Now, the 60-plus minutes, it's accurate because it has a plus. This is. I don't think you could get this down to 1 hour.
To be fair, we haven't played all the scenarios, but I don't see it.
It's a multi-hour game.
Yeah, I don't see that ever being a 60-minute game.
And the first time you play this, you should set aside a whole day because this is a big, epic game. 2 players, not much to talk about. It is a 2-player game. Mm-hmm. 14 and up is a good estimate. This is not a game for kids. This is not a game for people who are not into very advanced strategy and tactic heavy games. This is a game with a lot going on.
I think that 14 is the low end. Like it's an experienced 14-year-old, I think.
Yes, a 14-year-old who's already into strategy games, who's already played epic games. Right. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. I said weight-wise, this feels to me like a 2-player Twilight Imperium in regard to the weight of the game. There's so much here. Now, we're going to have a look at what comes in the box. But it's going to be very briefly. We're going to skim through it, and that's because there's a lot in here. You're going to see a lot out on the table, but I do want to show some close up.
Sure.
So we've got a lot of cardboard punch-out tokens. There are tons of cardboard punch-out tokens. Now, the tokens are nice. They're a linen finish. They're thick and sturdy, but I'm doing these pretty quick just because there's so many. There are so many parts for this game. Now, the next thing, and this is something I really like, the custom dice.
Yeah, these were really well thought out.
Oh yes. So you've got different dice for different things, and they're all custom, but they're really nice. They look great. They have. I love this giant one here. This giant retreat die, and then there's a smaller retreat die, so you can see the difference in size there. And you've got a regular 6-sided die. These 2 here are the siege dice, 1 white, 1 red. The red one is the better siege die. And this one is the naval movement die, basically.
Like an encounter die, almost.
Yeah, sort of is. And then we've got tons and tons of cards in here. And the cards are very nice. Tons of decks of cards. Again, I'm going through this quickly just because there's so many components to this game. We've got an amazing board.
Really nice board. Very
which
nice board.
I'm not really going to show much here because you're going to see a whole lot of it out there.
Yeah.
And then you've got miniatures, which is the main thing. I was originally not going to show too much at all, but Alex said we should definitely at least show the miniatures. And then I decided I agreed because the miniatures...
They're really nice, yeah.
Yeah, these are amazing. So that is Hannibal right there.
And this is...
Is that Scipio Africanus?
Yeah, Scipio Africanus.
So there are, and let me pull out this so you can see.
And there's another...
There are...
15 or so.
The miniatures are for all the generals, and there are tons of miniatures.
And the miniatures reflect the image that's on the card that's associated with each one. So they're actually, it was really well thought out.
Yeah, they're very easy to figure out.
Easy to figure out who's who, and it looks cool. It keeps like a nice symmetry between the miniature and the cards you're using.
And then we've got some cheat sheets and we've got some books.
Yeah,
sliding all over the place.
Few things in here.
So cheat sheets. The cheat sheets are actually pretty good.
They really are. Yeah. They're very helpful.
And there's 3 big books. So you've got, now this is something I really like with this game. So this game has a lot going on. It can be a little tough to figure out. They have a playbook which actually takes you through some exercises to actually show you how the different things in the game play. I don't learn this way. So this book was not very good for me. However, then there was a rule book, which was a second way to learn, and actually went through the old school war game method of having decimal point rules to teach you how to play. And I found this one much better. But again, that's great that they have 2 different ways that you can learn. Because some people learn by actually doing it.
Right.
So, but there is a lot of rules here. So the main rule book, which actually just points out all the rules, is about 30 pages of rules. It's pretty good. It's not the best rulebook ever, but it's well done, and I was able to figure out how to play, and I was able to teach you.
Yes.
How long did it take me to teach you for the first game of this, though?
An hour.
Yeah, there's a lot here.
Yeah, so it's... yeah, the captain here read through the rule book. I did not. We did a few little quick demonstrations as to different mechanics in the game. But for me to feel comfortable playing, understanding the rules, it took a full hour, and I relied on the cheat sheets.
A lot.
Yeah. Which is, the cheat sheets are necessary because these books are pretty dense, and so it's nice to have everything there.
This is the most amazing thing ever. So this is the scenario book. Because each one of these is a different scenario allowing you to play out part of the Punic Wars. And, oh my god, there are tons. And they just get more and more advanced as they go. In previous iterations of this game, when it was just Hannibal Rome versus Carthage, it was just the second Punic War. But now they've added in a second side to the game board with more advanced scenarios to play out the first Punic War. And I mean, there is just tons of stuff in here. And I want to go through a lot of it because it's so amazing. We've only played the very earliest scenarios so far. So I can't wait to check out some of the much more advanced stuff. But that's basically it. That is what comes in the box of Hannibal and Hamilcar Robe versus Carthage. Now we're going to take it to the table, and we're not going to do like our tutorial portion of this video is going to be more of a just, we're going to start playing and run you through about maybe a round and a half or so. We'll see how it goes. But mainly because if we were to explain everything in the rules, this video would be 2 hours long. So instead, we're just going to run you through about a round and a half, but you will need to read the rulebook to play this game. But feel free, I hope you watch the video, and I hope it gives you a good idea of at least the gist of how this game plays. Yeah. And then when we're done, we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about how this game feels, and we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, so here you can see us set up for the first scenario of a game of Hannibal and Hamilcar Robe versus Carthage. Now, each scenario in the scenario book has a detailed description on how you set up for that scenario. This is the first scenario, which is Second Punic War, 218 to 201 BC, and it tells you exactly where to put all of the starting control markers, as well as your starting units and your generals. We're going to kind of skip over this because it does change from scenario to scenario, and there is a lot of stuff that we would have to mention, including specifically what numbered cards we're using from the different decks. So we're just going to jump into this. We've already set up, and we've already got our generals on the field. We've already got our cards out and all of our control markers set up. And we're going to, rather than do a full kind of tutorial, because there'd be just too much to talk about, we're going to just run through at least one full round. We're going to see how this goes. To give you a feel for how this game plays, but you probably will need to read the rules. I don't think you're going to be able to play just off this tutorial portion of the video. So, Alex, why don't you run us through the phases of the turn? What do we, now the first one is usually what, the reinforcements?
Yeah, so reinforcements is always the first thing you do after turn one. So turn one, you don't get any, you have your initial outlay of troops, so you skip your reinforcements. The next phase is the strategy card phase. There's a lot going on in this game, so they're very nicely supplied with a really, actually excellent cheat sheet. Two-sided, gives you all the basic rules and your steps for play. So I'm going to reference this as we go because there's a lot going on.
So we skip the reinforcement phase, we move on to the strategy card phase, and we check our turn track over here for how many cards we get during the strategy card phase, which is 7 cards for the first turn.
You each get 7. This is the strategy card deck right there. It's got a little elephant on the front. So we each get 7.
Thank you.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay. All right, so we have had a look over our cards, and now the first thing we do before we start taking turns with these cards is the Roman player has a chance to preempt the Carthaginian player if they would like to play either a minor or major campaign. So since Alex is playing Rome, Alex, you have the option.
I will not preempt.
So in which case, the Carthaginian player, which is me, will get to decide who goes first. I'm going to go first. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play Iberian Recruits, which allows me to place 2 combat units with any friendly general located in a friendly controlled province in Iberia. So I'm going to toss that to the discard pile over there. And now my recruits are the white colored ones. I'm going to put it here with Hannibal's forces in Saguntum. He's going to get 2 new Spanish troops there. There we go.
I'm going to play, my card is Allied Auxiliaries. It's a Roman-only card, so it's got only a red marker in the upper left. And the number 2 identifies not only the number of political control units you can use with this card, but it also says that you can only use this card with a general that has a 2 or less
on their
stat card. So that's their movement card.
So are you going to be using it to move someone?
No, I'm going to use this as the card, which is place 2 Roman combat units with any general in Italia if Apulia is Roman controlled.
And Apulia,
I have all of Rome.
No, you don't have the northernmost province.
I'm sorry, I don't have this one. Yes, right. Apulia is down here.
So that is Roman controlled.
So I'm going to take 2 combat units and put them with. It has to be in Italy.
So it's got to be.
So it's got to be on Rome.
So who is that? Who's on Rome? What general is that?
That is Cornelius Scipio. He's going to get 2 combat units.
Okay.
And Carthaginians are white. Romans are beige.
And also for the colors for control, and also for the miniatures, Romans are red, Carthaginians are blue.
Correct.
So that's great. So now I'm going to do a forced march. A forced march allows me to take any general who has a strategy rating of 1. That's the statistic that Alex was talking about. And the only general I have with a strategy rating of 1 is Hannibal himself, who you can see there has a 1 in strategy, and he has a 4 in battle tactics. So with his strategy rating of 1, I can move him 6 spaces with this card. So I'm going to take Hannibal, and I'm going to take all the troops that he has, and I'm going to leave behind Mago, but I'm going to take with, he had 2 other generals with him. He had Mago and Gisgo. I'm going to take Gisgo with him, and I'm going to move 6 spaces. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so now Hannibal is well into Europe there.
Yes. So Hannibal with his giant army is clearly visible to the Italians. After Hannibal moved into
Italy. Well, now he's not in Italy.
Not in Italy, but he's close.
I'm in what, France, basically there?
Yeah, you're basically the eastern part of
Gallia.
Gaul.
Yeah, Gallia Transalpina is what that was known at the time, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably the Roman designation.
Yes. So now that I have noticed Hannibal moving there, I'm going to play this card as number 3. I'm going to be activating it with this general, Scipio, who is in Rome. And I'm going to move Scipio. The standard movement for a card is 4 spots. So I'm going to move Scipio out to intercept Hannibal in northern Italy.
So taking all the troops with.
Yeah, because he has 10. Yes. So he has to move with either 5.
He has to keep at least 5.
At least 5.
Minimum 5.
Because that's just one of the Roman rules.
Yeah, because all consular armies must have a minimum of, well, must not voluntarily go below the minimum of 5.
Right. So I'm going to go 1, 2. Now let's see here.
Deciding.
So Hannibal has several routes into.
Yeah, I could go in a lot of different ways.
So I'm going to play somewhere where I can intercept better. Which I believe is going to be.
You want to be somewhere centrally located.
Yeah, so I'm going to go here.
Now, you can intercept across the mountain range, but I can't cross that mountain range without coming into you, so there is that.
Correct.
Okay. So, all right. So I am going to play, for my next card, I'm going to play... I'm going to play this minor campaign card, but I'm not going to be using it for the campaign. I'm going to be using it to place influence. So it has a number 3. I can use it to place 3 influence. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 influence tokens. I'm going to immediately take control of the northernmost Italian province of, what is it called? This
is Gallia Cisalpina.
Which means that now over here on the track where it has Gallia Cisalpina, I can take one of my tokens and put it on that track because I now have control over it. These tribe markers here that are on the blue side also are specifically, they are Carthaginian allied tribes, so they count as me controlling those spaces as well. So I actually control everything in that province now.
Correct. And these have important side effects or important effects during battles that will probably come into play.
Well, if you want to intercept into one of my controlled spaces, it's 1 point harder. There's one a little bit harder.
Right. I'm going to use him to play diplomacy, which allows to convert any one non-walled, non-tribe enemy politically controlled into a space without any combat units into a friendly space.
Anywhere on the board?
Anywhere on the board.
Oh wow!
So, this is where strategy gets involved in this game now. So I think I'm going to do somewhere where I can attack. Will help me attack.
Okay. All right. So I still control the province though, because I do definitely still have
Correct.
the majority.
Correct.
You just took the southernmost token from me. I'm going to play, for its ability, Corsica and Sardinia Revolt. So for this one, if my opponent has control of Corsica and Sardinia, which they do, I get to remove all of their political control markers from Corsica and Sardinia. And this is Corsica and Sardinia right here. So they just revolted from Roman rule, and now they are completely independent. And then also this token here, which represents Rome's control of Corsica and Sardinia, is gone as well. I wonder if Carthage backed that revolt.
Very interesting. I'm just going to play this to put down one political control marker. Which I'm going to put right there.
Ah, okay. Fair enough. I'm going to play this card here. Now, as it's a blue marked card, its ability could only be used by Carthage, but I'm not playing it for its ability. I'm just going to use it for the one to move a general who has a strategy rating of 1, which is, of course, again, Hannibal is the only general I have with a strategy rating of 1, and I can move him up to 4 spaces. So it is 2 spaces across a mountain space. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I have to stop and do attrition for crossing an Alps mountain space. So for the attrition, it is a roll on the mountain space raw with no modifications, and I have 7+ units, so I have to roll on the highest attrition area. So let's see what I get. I got a 5. That's rough. So this is where this is a nice cheat sheet in the corner here, but the one that's provided on this sheet is actually much more helpful. I have to lose 3 units, one of which has to be an elephant if I have any elephants.
Correct.
So I do have elephants. I have 2 units of elephants with me, so I'm going to lose 1 crossing the Alps, and 2 more units, which are, I'm glad I just recruited those 2 extra units in Spain, because that actually helped me keep a lot of units. And then I can move 1 more space, and I'm going to move to this allied tribal space here. So actually, that worked out all right.
Not too bad.
And I am in, and now Hannibal is in Italy.
Hannibal is at the gates. In order to build, so I'm going to play the truce card, which on this card, I flip the turn marker to the truce side. So we're in a truce. While this is in play, neither player may enter a space containing an enemy combat unit or political control units.
So this is going to keep Hannibal in the first round from moving further down into southern Italy, keep him from rampaging.
So truce leaves play when either player uses a strategy card marked with a broken truce as an event. So we have to use a strategy card to break it, and then it also reshuffles the strategy deck
whenever the truce card is played.
So
go ahead, take the truce and take everything there, and then.
So this is in effect.
All right. So as soon as the truce card is played, we just checked its extra effect in the book, and it says that you reshuffle the discard into the deck before moving on. So we are doing that. But while you're doing that, I'm gonna just move on to my turn since your turn is over.
Go for it.
And I'm going to play this card here, but not for its effect, for the number 2 to take 2 control markers. I'll put it over there in the discard. And for the control markers, I'm going to take a couple spots here in Idubeta to start taking over the province of Idubeta, the only province in Iberia that I do not yet control.
I'm not doing well now, but I do better soon.
I do better indeed.
I do better. All right, those have been reshuffled. It's now my turn. I'm going to play this card for its 1 for a political influence token, which I'm going to put in Hannibal's retreat way.
I'm going to play this 2 for another pair of influence tokens, which I'm going to also put in Idubeta. And since I am taking more, I've now taken 4 of the 7 locations in the province of Idubeta. I now control Idubeta, so I will put one on the track over here over Idubeta. I now control everything in Iberia. Every province in Iberia.
Yes, you do. And I'm going to play this 1 again for its single influence token, and I'm going to put that over here. Nasia. All right.
Okay, so now we're going to run through the, we're finished for our strategy phase, so what's the next phase?
Next phase is winter attrition.
So now I'm on all friendly locations, and so are you. So there, if you were on a hostile controlled location, you would have to check for winter attrition and roll an attrition roll, very similar to how Hannibal did when he was crossing the Alps there, and you would lose troops because you had no supplies, because you had no friendly forces around you to supply you with food. But we don't have that, so we're going to move on.
Next phase is political isolation.
Okay, I think you forgot and you isolated that control marker over there.
This little guy.
Yeah, so
he got messed up.
Now, for political isolation, you have to be able to draw a line through friendly controlled areas to a friendly port, and he was not able to do that. There was no ports over there, so he got isolated. What else do we have?
Now we do the victory check.
Okay, so for the victory check, we check to see our current points based on how many areas we control. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 provinces that I control. Well, and these are only the major provinces. Correct. Things like Belarus don't count. It's an independent province. It doesn't count for points.
And neither is anything in this area.
Indeed. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I control 1 more province than you, which means that Alex is going to have to lose one of his political control markers.
Correct.
But he did take some independent ones that he can easily lose, and it won't hurt too bad. We move on to the next round by moving the token, which stays in the truce because Alex has declared a truce, but we move it down to the second round. So then, after moving it down to the second round, we're going to do our reinforcements phase.
Correct.
And for the reinforcements phase, you have to check what reinforcements you get for the particular scenario you're playing in. So, the first, in our scenario, Carthage gets 1 combat unit either in Carthago or with any general in Africa. So I'm going to give it to my, both. My 1 general in Africa, and he happens to be in Carthago, which is Carthage. Then, if Carthago Nova is friendly controlled, I can place 1 combat unit either in Carthago Nova or with any general in Iberia. Carthago Nova is friendly controlled, so I'm going to give 1 combat unit to Mago over in Saguntum over there. Then, my next recruit is if the province of Baetica is friendly controlled, which it is the southernmost province here in Iberia, then I can put 1 combat unit either in Carthago Nova or again with a Carthaginian general in Iberia. So I'm going to flip this 1 over to a 2 on the other side, and I will have 2 combat units with Mago. Then I get 1 combat unit in any space that contains either a Carthaginian general or in Carthago or Carthago Nova. So for this one, I'm going to give 1 to Hannibal. So flip that 1 to a 2 for me. And Hannibal gets 1 extra unit. Then I would return any displaced Carthaginian generals, but I don't have any. So it's the Romans' turn. They get 5 combat units, and at least 3 of the 5 must be placed in Italy somewhere. So have you got your 5 then?
I do. So, Scipio here has, I think he's maxed out 5, 7, 8, 10. So the most he can travel with is 10.
So you could put somewhere else to help defend the city, or you could put some with him. He just won't be able to take him.
Take him with.
Yeah.
Also, I'll be getting new generals.
Yes.
In this round as well. So I think what I'm going to do is
put 5 somewhere. You're going to get a new general, basically.
Exactly what I believe I'm going to do. So 1, 2, 4.
You put your 5 there?
Putting 5 there.
Okay, so you put all 5 of your troops on, what is that area?
That is Armenium.
Armenium. Okay, so in which case, now the Romans are going to check for who has been elected to be their consul. So first, the Romans can designate one of their generals that is out as a proconsul. Will you designate, I mean, there's no reason not to, but will you designate a proconsul?
I will designate a proconsul. I'm going to make Scipio my proconsul.
Okay, so you remove your other general from the field, and we will pull him off to the side, and then you're going to put his card into the deck, shuffle it up, and deal out 2 new consuls. So you will now have 3 generals on the field, 2 consuls, and 1 proconsul.
And it's important to remember because the proconsul must always serve under
a consul. If they're in the same stack. They are outranked by the consuls, right, regardless of skill.
Which can have, it usually has an effect.
Yeah,
a big effect. Because if your consul is less talented than your proconsul,
you're hurting yourself.
You are forced to use them.
So let's see, who do you get?
I get Claudius Marcellus.
Oh, he's pretty good.
Actually, he's really good. And Gracchus, who is not very good.
Well, he's very maneuverable.
He's very maneuverable, though.
Yeah, he's very maneuverable.
So this is actually a pretty good spread. 3-2-1 on maneuverable.
So there's Gracchus, and I think this is Claudius.
This is Claudius. I'm going to put Claudius
in the north there, because he's the better combat unit.
Right.
So you can put the more maneuverable guy down in Sicily then, or are you abandoning those troops in Sicily?
I'm going to put him down in Sicily, yeah. So he's going to go down here. He's maneuverable, but not very combat-oriented.
No, but very fast to respond.
Very fast to move.
That can be useful.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now that we are done with our recruit phase, I believe we move on to the strategy phase. Which is 7 cards for this round again. All right, we'll take a look at these.
4, 5, 6, 7.
So for my first action card, I'm going to play Sicilia Revolts, and I'm going to have, if my opponent has control of Sicilia, I remove all of his non-walled political controls in that province, which are not stacked with his combat units. So he's got 1 with a combat unit, the other 3 are completely gone, which actually makes him no longer have enough area to control Sicilia anymore. So we will also remove the Roman control of Sicilia marker. And
does that break the truce?
And it does, in fact, break the truce. It breaks the olive branch, so we flip that back over.
Alrighty. Yeah, I'm going to play Messenger Intercepted. I get to draw 1 strategy card from my opponent's hand and add it to my own.
Not going to retake Sicilia right away. Okay. I gave him a quick shuffle. Go ahead and pick one.
Oop. Uh-oh. Knocked over Hannibal already.
He's been drinking too much during the winter.
Okay. Your turn.
Okay. I'm going to play this card for the 1, and I'm going to move Hannibal. So Hannibal is going to move, and he can move up to 4 spaces. He's going to go 1, 2. I have to stop here. Do you want to intercept? That's here.
Do wish to intercept.
All right. All right, so in order to intercept, he must roll the die, and he must get it less than or equal to his battle rating, which is the 2nd number, which means you need a 3 or less to intercept.
No,
and
I do not intercept.
Did not intercept. So I'm going to continue moving, and I'm going to move into your province there. So the question is, will you try to retreat, or are we going to fight?
We are going to fight.
So now for the fight, shuffle up. We've shuffled up already the battle deck.
There it is.
I will receive a number of cards based on my my battle rating for Hannibal, which he has a battle rating of 4, so that's 4 cards, and then I get 1 for each unit I have there.
You should have
which I have 1, hold on, 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
10.
So I get, that's 14 I'm up to, plus 1 for the Allies rule for controlling 1 province in the area we're in Italy. So that is 11 cards for me. So now...
10, 11, 15 total.
Oh, excuse me, 15 cards for me. Yes, thank you. So I get 15 cards for Hannibal, whereas you have a cap in Italy of a max of 2 for your allies. How many, what is his... His
battle rating is 3. He has controls 5 is 8, so he gets 10 cards with his 2 from Italy.
All right, so you get 10 and I get 15. Let's do this.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, so as the attacker, because I moved into your area, I will be playing a card first. Okay, I'm going to start by playing a frontal assault.
I will counter and roll for
taking over. So now to take over,
initiative.
So you have to roll
3 or less.
3 or less to take control of the battle. So you do not. So now I'm going to change strategies. I'm going to roll double envelopment. I'm going to play the double envelopment. Now this is a little risky because he doesn't need to roll. If I fail at double envelopment, he will automatically counterattack. No double envelopments and no reserves?
Correct.
Oh, so the double envelopment wins the day, which is, it's risky, but this is actually a very powerful maneuver.
It certainly is.
So, we first roll attrition. Now, we only made it to the second round, so anything less than a 5 will not do anything. So go ahead, we'll check. So, nope, we don't lose anyone during attrition. If we had, we would lose people like Hannibal did while crossing the Alps, but we both would have lost that many people. Correct. But now you must roll the retreat die, which you had enough for the large retreat die.
I had 5 exactly.
And for a double envelopment, any sword or shield is going to make you lose a unit. Any horse will make you lose all units.
Ooh.
So if you roll a horse, everything is gone. Let's see how the retreat die goes.
Okay. Well, at least it's not, I lose 4.
So show that to the camera what you rolled. So you rolled 3 shields and a sword, so you got to lose 4 units.
So 2, 4. That leaves me with 1.
And you must retreat up to 4 spaces away with your general there, plus what units he has left.
And he's going to go to Rome.
Now, if he had to retreat through enemy-controlled spaces, he also would have lost units for control going through those spaces. But there were no enemy-controlled units there for him, because I don't control anything that far south in Italy yet. I will shortly, because Hannibal has now won that fight and made it to the province of Samnium, which I then will immediately start taking control of. But now, based on how many units he lost, which is 4, he will lose half that number, rounded down if it was an odd number, in control markers. So you will lose 2 control markers as people now believe Rome to be on the losing side of the war.
This one doesn't matter.
Okay, and then it would be your turn again, but that's a good idea right there of how you play a game of Hannibal and Hamilcar Rome versus Carthage. You go back and forth playing cards, sometimes playing them for their effects, to do all sorts of interesting things, sometimes playing them for their numbers to either move armies or take control of areas so that you can eventually take control of provinces. And at the end of every round, you compare who has the most points, and the person who has the less points will lose some of their control tokens. If you can take a large amount of control away from your enemy, you can really force them to continually be losing large amounts of area so that they'll be fighting an uphill battle. Now, if at any point a rule like losing a combat or like losing or at the end of the turn losing having the less points will force you to remove tokens that you literally do not have enough tokens to lose, you will surrender and lose the war and lose the game of Hannibal and Hamilcar. Or if you make it all the way to the final turn down here on the turn track, and whoever has the higher number of points at the end of that turn will win the game of Hannibal and Hamilcar Rome versus Carthage. So there is an idea on how you play. So let's head back over to the table, and we're going to talk about how this game feels and how it plays, and we're going to review it and rate it. Okay, so welcome back. So that was how you play a game of Hannibal and Hamilcar Robe versus Carthage.
Part of a game.
Part of a game. Yes, this is a big, epic experience.
Yes.
Okay, I need to, because it's going to be very obvious very shortly. I love this. I love big epic games. So I'm just gonna preface the beginning of this review portion by saying, yeah, I'm loving this game.
He's a big fan.
Yeah. So all right, first let's start though because it's gonna be obvious because I'm gonna be gushing. But let's start with negatives.
Okay.
Now you had a big negative that also Lynn had mentioned because she tried one game of this also. So you're speaking for the two of you on this one.
Okay, right.
So why don't you go right ahead with that?
Just with the miniatures.
Yeah.
Miniatures are really nice. They're solid. They're very durable, and they're pretty. But the base of the miniature, which is designed to go on top of the tokens, which represent how many
soldiers
units are under being commanded by that general, is the base is the exact same size as the tokens, and it's hollow. It's like a concave base to it. So the generals constantly fall off, especially if you have a large stack of units underneath the generals.
Now they do have cardboard tokens for the generals that you can use instead, but with the miniatures, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's a waste of the. I mean, the miniatures are so nice and they look really cool, big statues on top of the board. But it may sound a little finicky, but after like the 15th time of your general falling over, you get a little irritated, especially because you're playing for so long.
I agree with you. I just don't think it's as much of a problem as you and Lynn do. You and Lynn like Lynn, I think was on the extreme end. She took like a true amount of hatred to
personal offense.
Yeah, you were like, it's a problem, but it's irritating, but you can move on. I was kind of the opinion like, it's a thing. Yeah, I'm just like, it's a thing. It's negative, but it doesn't bother me that much.
The production quality of the whole game is so good.
Oh yeah,
it actually really stands out even more because everything else is great.
Oh yeah, the board is fantastic.
So it shouldn't take away from the rest of the quality of the production.
The cards are great.
Yeah, the cards are beautiful. The board is really nice.
Miniatures, the custom dice are phenomenal.
So it's just one. It's maybe a tiny thing, but it actually seems to. It's like they thought of everything else except that one little thing. All they need to do is make a solid base, and they would probably be fine.
I'm already gushing on positives. I don't know if I have any negatives though on this game. Actually, I like it that much. That I'm not sure I have any negatives, but I know you have another negative. So after I've just gushed a little bit, and I'll get back to gushing in a moment,
yes.
Your other negative.
The only thing that prevents this from being like a fantastically top-of-the-line game for me is how long the gameplay is.
This is a big game.
This is a giant game. I like complexity, I like strategy, and I like a lot of thinking. But when you're pushing 4+ hours, our first game of this took I think it took 7 hours.
Yeah, it was a big game. We were playing, we took a break for dinner.
Yes.
We were playing all day.
Right. So, when I'm into the 4th or so hour of gameplay, it stops being enjoyable, and now I'm just in it to finish it.
Did you not find this, though, super engrossing?
I really did. I did, but, I was exhausted.
Okay.
I didn't I wanted to finish the game and I wanted to win.
Well, it's because it's 7 hours of brain burn,
right?
Because you are. I mean, you've got so. All right, so this game plays. You've got a lot of hand management. You get your cards, and then there's always that time you got to look over them. You're like, okay, which one am I going to use first? Which one am I going to use second? Oh man, my opponent did something that screwed up my plans. I got to change the order. Okay, I'm not going to use this for its ability anymore. I'm going to use it for its number because Sicily revolted.
Yep, right. Yeah, right. I lost my influence there. Right.
Yeah, so I gotta get some influence back.
Right. So if you take each individual component or mechanic of the game, they're fantastic. The way you do strategy with the cards is awesome. The way you do battle with the cards is awesome.
Oh, let's talk about the card battle system because that is so unique and different.
Right. That's brilliant. The entire advantage is the number of cards you get.
Right.
Which is all based on how you've set yourself up to that point.
Yeah. So the general with a higher battle strategy rating will get more cards. Then you get cards.
It's the least important part of it, though.
Well, it can be very important if you have a 4 versus a 1.
Right, but the spread is only 3 cards at most.
It's true, and then you can have if you're moving. If you're just standing there, it's different. But if you're moving, you can have up to 10 units with you, and you get a card for each unit. So you could have up to 10 cards from the units, and then you can get cards for, depending on what area you're in, for your allied provinces that you have on your side, and that can be really huge because there was in our first game, you attacked me in Africa, and I had all 4 provinces in Africa, and when I hit you, I had so many cards.
Right, and we played a couple battles where it was 17 to 14.
Yeah, which can be huge. 20 is the max.
20 is the max, right?
Yeah.
So, And I think that mechanism is awesome because it takes all of the strategy you've built up to that point, all the area you control, all of the units that you have amassed, and it makes a difference in the actual battle, which is how it should be. It's really cool.
We didn't actually explain how it works during the tutorial portion, but this is essentially it. You play a card, and your opponent has to play the same card or a reserve card, which is a wild card, to block you. And then they can roll their battle strategy or less to become the new attacker if they so choose.
Yes.
And you keep playing either until an attacker doesn't have any cards to play, in which case they lose, or until the attacker plays a card and the opponent doesn't have a card to counter it, in which case they lose, and then the card that you last played, after you roll attrition, depending on how many cards you played, the card you last played tells you what the symbols on the retreat die do to you.
Right.
And the more units you had at the beginning of the battle, if you have 5 or more, you have to use a larger retreat die, which has more symbols.
Yes.
If you had less, you use the smaller retreat die. But like most of them are usually in the middle, where just about every symbol is just a wound. But then there's like the probe, which only some of the symbols are wounds and some aren't. And then there's the double envelopment, where if you get any horses, your entire army's wiped out, no matter how big it was.
Right.
It just gets obliterated.
It got surrounded by cavalry, and you got obliterated.
Which is what Hannibal did a lot. He was a big fan of the double envelopment.
Yeah, as a simulation of, I thought that part, like I said, is fantastic. The gameplay itself is awesome.
It's brilliant.
It's really awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
But man, it takes a long time to finish a game.
Okay, so all right, I like the hand management.
Brilliant hand management.
I love, because the different cards. I love that even when the card can't be used for its ability, you've got the number. You can use the number
nothing's a waste, right?
Yeah, you can either use it to move or to recruit areas to your side of the war.
Right.
I love the way the battles work. I love how they have there are provinces that are more important than others, because the provinces that are more important are the ones that give you the points, and then at the end there's that pendulum swing of I'm winning and I've got you on tilt, so you lose even more control.
Right. There's some so there is that, but there's also they kind of built in some additional strategies.
Yeah.
Like, so you could be completely getting hammered on area control, right? But then there's like these if you siege the enemy's capital city.
Oh, you could just win. Yeah.
So there's all these so it's not just like this march across the map.
No, there's many ways to win.
But there's other things you can sail. You can come in behind others. So there's a lot of different ways.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to show sailing at all, but there's so much in this game.
It would literally take the video would be as long as an entire gameplay to show you all the different methods.
Yeah, there's so many things that can happen. But all right, so I'm gonna go first on the rating on this one, because I know I'm gonna be much higher than you.
Yes.
I really enjoy this game. I think it's fantastic. I'm giving Hannibal and Hamilcar, Rome versus Carthage, I am going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoy this game. I love how much there is in here. I love all the scenarios. I love the hand management. I love the battle card system. I went back and forth on this a little bit, and I had trouble. That's why I'm going to a decimal.
Okay.
And I'm doing the 8.5 because I really, really like it. But there's a caveat. You have to be willing to play a giant epic game that's going to take you multiple hours to play. Minimum multiple hours. Yes. This is a very old school game. The original design is 20 years old now. It's technically a classic, though they have updated it with the newer version of Hannibal and Hamilcar, because the original version was just called Hannibal.
Right.
But it is still an old school epic war strategy game, and you have to be prepared for that.
Yes.
But that's me, 8.5.
So I'm actually surprised you were an 8.5. I thought I was pegging you at a 9 for this one, but
well, I went a little.
Really like.
I do really like it. I do really like it. It's a lot of fun.
There's a lot going for this game. I agree. There's a lot going for this game. This game would be up there for me, in the 8 range, except for how long it takes. So I'm giving this a 6.5.
Okay. And
that is purely a personal rating based on my own preferences for
length
of gameplay.
Okay.
This would.
So is that okay? So that's saying basically you like it, but it's held back because of how long it is that you have to be in the mood to spend all day playing one game, essentially.
Essentially, yeah. So this is like you schedule a time on the calendar,
yeah,
and you put aside like a work day of time to get one of these games in. Now I think you can do it quicker than we did. I would be surprised if the next game we played took as long as it did, but it's still it's in my opinion it's too long. I enjoyed it, but by the time we got to those 6 hour or so, I was ready for it to be over, and I didn't want to play anymore.
Even though I don't get to play the really long games in my collection as often, I am that person who loves those long games and wish I could play them more often. Like, I love these all-day affair games. So that's why I rated it so highly.
Sure.
So there you have it. And you know what? That's important because that is, and even though I love it so much, I'm giving it an 8.5. That is an important note about the length of this game.
Know what you're getting into.
Yeah, if you're the kind of person who never wants to play a game longer than an hour, do not get this game. This game is not for you. But if you're the kind of person who loves an epic, all-day affair, a multi-hour game, because I would say your first game of this is going to be many hours. It's going to be all day.
Yeah.
Once you get used to the rules and you've played it a few times, you might be able to get it down to like 3 to 4 hours, but it's still going to be a very long game.
Yes.
It's still going to be a very long game. But I could totally see this coming in under 4 if you've played it a couple times.
Yeah, I think you could get with practice, and there's definitely room in there. You know, I'm not saying that every game's going to take 7 hours, but I don't think any game's going to take less than 3.
No, it's a big game. So there you have it. That is a 6.5 stars from Alex and a 8.5 stars from me. But can we still say that is a 2 thumbs up review from us here at the Board Game Kaptain?
Still a positive review.
Still a positive review from both of us. 6.5 is quite positive, but it is in that range where Alex needs to be in the mood to play it. Yeah. So if you enjoyed this review and tutorial video, and you'd like to see us do more videos like it, be sure to give it a like. Share it on all forms of social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Kaptain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And hit that little bell icon on my channel so you get alerts every time I upload a new video. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns on Hannibal and Hamilcar Robe versus Carthage or on this video, feel free to put them in the comments down below. And until next time, game on.